So as an entrepreneur and a business owner who's scaled multiple 7 and 8 figure companies, I've learned to become very deliberate, careful, and selective as to where I put my money in terms of investments and how I spend my money. So much so that I've taken my decision-making process and have distilled them down to 4 main categories and priorities as to how I spend my money. And so these are just my priorities and how I think about spending money. So if you want to copy them, great. And it's not a guaranteed way for you to make money or grow your wealth, but maybe just an idea to perhaps allow you to create your own decision matrix as well. So number 1 at the very top of the list is that if there's ever an opportunity or an investment where if I can spend $1 and I can get $3, $5, or even $10 back out in a form of investment, and that is my number 1 priority as far as making sound financial decisions. So here's a real life example. One of the properties I own as a rental property needed a $20,000 remodeling, and that's to ultimately upgrade and improve the quality of the rental property. But what I found out is that by improving or adding $20,000 of upgrades and remodel, long term I can increase my annual cash flow profit by $2,400 every single year, which means that in my first year of remodeling this property, I can get back approximately 10% return on my $20,000 investment into this property. But that's just the cash on cash return. If we factor in the fact that by making the property more valuable, by increasing the revenue profit, I know if I want to sell this property in the future, it's going to be worth a lot more to another investor because it's simply more profitable. But that's just for long-term assets and long-term investments that I have in my real estate portfolio. But what about short-term? Now, when it comes to my short-term investments and short-term assets, such as my business, we do a lot of investments when it comes to advertising. And so my main criteria for success when it comes to advertising is that if I can put $1 in for an advertising and get $4 or $5 out in terms of business revenue, to me, that's a major success. And in fact, every single month, I spend approximately $80,000 to $100,000 every month on advertising for my business. And again, the main driver and motivation as to why I invest $100,000 a month on advertising costs is because, well, every dollar I put in, I can expect to get $3 to $5 out for my businesses. Now, I personally know businesses and peers that have businesses, for every dollar they put in, they get $5, $10, $20 in revenue, which is awesome. But personally, if I know I can put $1 into my business as advertising investment and then get $3 to $5 out within a couple weeks, that's a major win for me and I'll continue to do so. Now, you might be asking, well, Sam, why don't you then put $1 million in, which means you'll get $5 million out? Well, truth be told, and to be completely transparent, there are limitations as to how much money I can put in, mainly because I have constraints and limitations on how many employees I have, our operational capacity. So even if I wanted to put $1 million in advertising budget, I simply could not be able to handle the influx of customers and clients that we deal with. It just wouldn't work out really well. So when it comes to my operating or short-term businesses, I have to operate with 2 lenses. One, yes, I'm getting short-term returns every dollar I put in, $3 to $5 I get back out. But I also have to think about other types of investments such as human capital, operational capital, and process capital that ultimately grows and scale my business. And that is definitely something that I spend most of my time in right now in growing the operational capacity of my businesses and portfolio. The second priority is that I spend money wherever I can to save money in the future. So just like investing $1 to get $3 to $5 back out, I also think about, well, if I put $1 in, will it save me $3, $5, or even $10 sometime in the near future to prevent from any excess incurrence of expenses? A really good example might be for this is that if I can spend, extra $5,000 or $10,000 on a more efficient air conditioning unit for our office building, and if that means I can save an extra $200 to $300 of electric bills, in a long-term perspective, I could be saving money and less of dollars will go towards for the cooling bill. Now, from my experience of doing real estate investing, remodeling, fix and flips, so maybe by investing $20,000 or $30,000 in replacing all of your windows to a better and newer, more efficient windows, that may help you save thousands of dollars every single year on cooling and heating bill, which over time can save you a lot of money overall. So maybe rather than a brand new granite countertop, which looks nice, maybe a better financial move might be to spend money on or invest money on things that could help you save and help decrease any expenses down the road for your home or business, whatever the case might be. So that is priority number 2. Priority number 3 is any expense or anything that I can spend that can turn into tax savings that I will do. So if a certain expense item or something that I have to spend my money on, if it doesn't give me returns or if it doesn't save me money in the future, if it can help me save me on taxes, that is something that I would consider as my priority number 3. So for example, as a business owner and an entrepreneur, I have many clients across the country from California, Florida, New York, you name it. So I try to get creative when it comes to taking trips, especially if it's a personal trip. So a good example is that a couple of years ago, I took my family to Disney World in Florida. So instead of using after-tax dollar to buy some really expensive resort tickets and park tickets, I decided to work with my accountant to figure out how to turn this entire trip into a business write-off. Now, just real quick, I want to be clear, I'm not a tax professional, I'm not a tax attorney, so be sure to consult with your tax professionals when it comes to attempting or trying anything that I am doing for my own tax situation. But what I was able to do is I was able to set up some client meetings and workshops while I'm down in Florida strategically and place them in the right dates and time that allow me to take my entire Florida trip, which would have been an after-tax event, but now I was able to take all the expenses that I would incur as part of doing the workshops and meetings with clients and turn them into a business write-off, which ultimately saves me money on taxes. And just a couple more examples along that lines is that if I have to buy a brand new phone or brand new laptop, brand new computers, I know that I'm gonna be using those computers and equipment for business purposes. So what I do is that I buy those equipments, computers, cell phones, tablets, in my business so that I can write them off and take deductions so that it helps me save money on taxes. So those are just tip of the iceberg as to what you could do creatively, legally, ethically, and morally to save money on taxes. And this is why I keep a close relationship with accountants and tax professionals that can give me legitimate ideas to help save money on taxes. And the last priority, number 4, is any expenses that are absolutely necessary I spend the money on. Now, this is obvious, but obviously gotta spend money on food, groceries, gas, absolute necessities that I need to have and live and to sustain my family and myself. And this is where I scrutinize my budget the most when it comes to spending money on food, on clothes. I mean, trust me, I'm not wearing any more expensive clothes than some of you guys are. I get all my clothes and shoes from Nordstrom Rack. I try to get them as cheap as possible and somewhat maintaining quality, but I don't spend a whole lot of money, or I don't think a whole lot about what should I wear, what should I eat. Yes, I try to eat as healthy as possible, natural organic foods that ultimately give me energy, which is the foundation of all wellness, but I don't try to go overindulgence by spending $1,000 on dinner. Because I know for every dollar that I don't spend on luxury or whatever fancy things, I can go and spend that money in priority number 1 and 2, where I can save more money or I can earn more money long term. So when it comes to prioritizing where my dollars go, this is how I do it mainly, but that's just strictly looking at from a financial wellness point of view. I do believe that there is one thing that transcends all 4 priorities, and that is purpose-driven spending. In other words, yes, I do have a faith background. I do care about solving real-world problems such as hunger and poverty and so on. So there are instances where my decision to spend my money on charity, the church that I'm part of, and donating money to good causes. So many times donating to churches, to good causes, to charity, oftentimes will override my priorities and my framework as to how I spend my money. You see, at the end of the day, it is a good thing to store our money well and use it wisely and be very selective as to how we spend our money. But what's the point of having $1 billion bank account if you're miserable all the time, and if you don't really have a purpose, and if you're not being driven just beyond saving money and making a lot of money? So yes, I do believe in purpose and faith-driven thinking as far as money that goes beyond just saving and investing money for the sake of having $1 billion bank account. And just for full transparency, I don't have $1 billion bank account. So strictly looking from a financial perspective, those are my 4 main priorities as to how I choose to spend my money and how I'm selective in my philosophy as to where to spend my money. Again, the purpose of this video is to help you think or at least come up with your own ideas and philosophy for money. I'm not promising or guaranteeing that by copying what I do, you'll make a lot of money and you'll do the same, but it is a way of thinking or principles that you can also adopt for better control and stewardship of your finances. So if you enjoyed this video and if you want more of it, definitely subscribe, follow, and leave your thoughts and comments down below.